Hey, what is up, everyone? Hope you're going well. I'm Axel, and I'm going to talk about what I think should be changing from Nioh 2 to any other game that they want to do, either Nioh-like or Nioh 3 from the Ninja. And yeah, let's keep things up with the appearance things. Character creation is really good, obviously. You can see a pretty good Sango here. And I would rate it like a 9.5 or something like that. Um, it does have some lackings. The hairstyles, well, really good overall. Um, Many of them are like very specific, like the mohawk and whatnot, like which is fine. But with only 38 hairstyles, and the fact that the longest hairstyle is this one, the 7, you can see right here. This is the longest hair that you can get, which is, it's pretty long, but it could be longer. And I would say we need way more hairstyles, especially for long hair. Um, Either options, like many more options, or just a different way to edit the hairstyle. That'll be great, I think. And besides that, there's one thing that I think Neo, or this character creator could take from other games like Codebane is the accessory stuff, where you could put like earrings, like a hairband, some cat ears, a tail, stuff like that. Because right now all we have is makeup things and body markings, which are like tattoos and whatnot. So yeah, I think like actual cosmetic accessories, like besides the getting armor and accessories, I think it would be better than not having that. Because like for example, if you don't have this, like the cat ears right here that I have the transform for the monk staff helmet, like you could not have them because for whatever reason you didn't get the game when it released or something, and you don't have the cat ears, and you cannot get them. So that sucks. So one way to avoid that it would be that. Um. Anyways, that's it for the character creation department. Next up, I'm gonna talk about, I would say, one of the most controversial things, or maybe not controversial, but talked about things, which is random loot, like the loot pinata and all the special effects shenanigans. As you can see, there's a lot of special effects here. There's a lot of like different rarities as well. You can see, and then you have the set bonus, you have the level, you have the class level. That's a mess. That's a mess in my honest opinion. Like it could it could be simplified way more and make the weapons less RNG, or not weapons, like equipment less RNG and more like unique. Like for example, the Kusanagi Tsurugi, you could keep the imbue purity and the Hachiman's grace and maybe something else, but all of those would be fixed. I think that would be best, especially for NG. And I would say the rarities do not really help. Like I don't think this Diablo loot mechanics really help the game the way that it's meant to be played. It's way too many parameters for this. Like you're gonna be spending a long time in the blacksmith in order to just keep things up to date, so to speak, right? Which I think takes away from like being able to play the game, actually play the game. Uh, you can just ignore them, but it at some point it requires you to be really good and focused on the game. because you're gonna get much behind in damage and defense and other stuff as well. So you know, it's not great, especially considering how this is taken into the balance of the game. So I don't think it's a good way to put it. I would definitely put it with, you know, maybe 1, 2, or 3 rarities tops, but the main thing is that on NG everything should be way more. NG meaning new game, by the way. Everything should be way more consistent. Like if you get one weapon, you know what you have in the special effects, and then maybe you get like a rare loot where you can put something else, right? And you keep the sets, and I think they will be a lot way more specific and less like random, because there's a lot of grinding in this game for random loots, so I think it's not great. And then on later games, you know, like NG Plus, NG Plus 2, you know, Dream of the Nioh, whatever, they can start adding more stuff. But even then, like right now, I'm in starting the depths of the underworld, this character, and this is I think this is too much. There should be like way less things to think about, too many things. And yeah, that includes also the levels and the plus 80 and all that stuff, because I'm gonna show you real quick how it feels like to soul match. Okay, so let's just say that we might want this one. Okay, let me actually temper it before that, because this is another thing. This is what you have to worry about. Constitution, for example, right? But I don't really want Constitution, honestly. I change it to something else. Courage, way better. Okay. So I want it on Courage. Okay, and then I want, I don't know. Let's just roll this, because you have to roll. It's a lot of things. Purified accumulation is really good, but active steel key damage is also really good. So let me just change this one. Purified accumulation right now. There we go. So you know, like right now I have like a good one. Like compared to this one, then I would say it's probably pretty good. But this one still has Mystic Diet Sword. So like there's a lot of things to think about, man. There's way too many things to think about. I don't feel like that's good. Okay, so let's start with soul matching, for example, right? So I have a Kusanagi Tsurugi right here, and let's just say that I want soul match it, so I get more levels, right? Let's use hammer to get to 84, and then I use another sword to get to 85. And you have to do this. You have to keep doing that if you want to like level up the weapon. And now I can actually like compare, right? So I have more damage here. Here I have the Mystic Diet, which is, you know, kind of annoying. So I don't know what to pick right now, but yeah. But that's just an example. And the same thing with the armor. You're gonna have to keep doing this a lot. Like, in order to keep up the levels of your staff, you have to keep doing that, because you cannot just steal the plus level. You can steal the level of another equipment, but not the plus level, which is really annoying. So yeah, I'll just do this one, and then I'll do the rest of camera. But yeah, and then okay, I don't have that, so I can just do this, right? And I can do it again. And again. So that's like a lot of time. Like this is a lot of time to spend on that blacksmith. That's the main issue that I have. You spend way too much time in the blacksmith in order to do all of that. So yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's not great, and it should be changed, my honest opinion. So it's less blacksmithing and less random loot, less like more consistent stuff, more like talking about the skills. And speaking of skills, that's the next thing. Okay. Before I go to just the skills, let me talk about the dojos. The way they are, the dojos, I think, from Way of the Warrior Novice to Way of the Nioh Adept, especially, they're kind of useless. Like, all of these ones are, like, especially Novice, honestly, like, it feels like you're just doing a tutorial because you have to. A tutorial. Like, what you do here in this mission, let me show it to you. Let me show you what you do in this mission. Okay. You pick up this. You learn this skill. Something that you have already done because you unlock it after the second main mission. You change that skill to that one. Then you go here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So that finishes the tutorial. Or the dojo. What have you learned that you didn't learn before? Or you shouldn't have learned before? Nothing really. Like, this should have been just part of the tutorial at the start of the game, and there's no reason to have that dojo mandatory in order to get anything besides the 4 starting skills on Samurai as well. Like, if you want Flux 2, you need to do that dojo. If you want Masterful Slice, you need to do that dojo. If you want EI Quick Draw, you have to do that dojo. Well, Q Draw too, I guess. If you want Titanic Strength, you have to do that dojo. Rambling Earth, Mad Spinner 2. If you want Water Sword, Son of the Cross, all that, you have to do that dojo that has nothing to do with that. So the way I will do it is just all of these ones, all of these 3 should be just part of the tutorial. Okay. Just to show you how to do things, right? That you can skip. Because, you know, it doesn't make sense that to force you to do a tutorial if you have already if you already have the knowledge to do that, right? You're not a new player. So I wouldn't put it in the middle of the playthrough or it's mandatory. It's bad. It's really bad. Okay? And these ones are, honestly, they are still just gates towards going through the what is it called? Through the skill tree and getting more skills. So the way that I would do that is, instead of having these dojos here, just take the mission requirements and you know, the proficiency and whatnot, and obviously like the minimum mission. Like, for example, after this mission, after you beat this mission, you unlock the Way of the Warrior Novice, right? So from that point onwards, you are able to have Flux 2, for example, or Titanic Strength, or Water Sword, or whatever. Like, everything that got unlocked after Way of the Warrior Novice. After this one, you unlocked Novice for Omnio and Ninjutsu. Same thing. Same thing. You're able to do all of that, right? We'll talk about other stuff as well, but yeah. And the same thing with to unlock the Adept. Now, the Veterans. I'm not against this kind of thing, which is a bit more of a challenge and whatnot, but it still feels a bit weird. I think instead of having 3 veterans here, like for these ones, I would mix these 2 and the one who lives in the shadows and the 9 symbols together to unlock the same things. All right. And then the Way of the Warrior, I would just, instead of having a Way of the Warrior veteran, I would have Mind's Eye, Hunt of the Demon, Dual Blades, all that stuff, like these ones, where you, instead of unlocking the... Because the thing is, you do the veteran and you unlock all the skills, basically. The only thing that you don't unlock is Sword of Execution, Sword of Salvation, and other mystic arts, right? So you would only do those for the mystic arts. So what about just doing them for all the skills, you know, all the veteran skills and the mystic arts, right? So you would you do the Master of the Dual Blades, and then you will be able to have the mystic arts for the Dual Blades, obviously, and you would also be able to unlock the veteran dojos, the veteran skills. I think that has way more sense because you're gonna be able to do advanced skills for that weapon, and at the same time you get also the mystic arts, right? So it's basically like the final test of this, which is what this is. But you are not unlocking like advanced skills if you do Way of the Warrior veteran for, I don't know, like the Switchglaive if you have never used it, right? It doesn't make sense that you have unlocked if you haven't used. Obviously, you're gonna have to get proficiency to get to that point, but maybe with 3 or 4 points, you're already having like an advanced skill, which doesn't make sense in the sense of the character. He hasn't used the Switchglaive that much. And for Ninja Veteran, Omnio Veteran, the same thing, you know, both the Mystic Arts and the advanced skills, and yeah, you'll just get those things. Just you just need the proficiency and that dojo and whatnot, and for the rest, just the proficiency and the mission to unlock that, alright, not the dojo. Now, speaking of advanced skills and all that stuff, I think there's a big issue with Ninja, especially. And yeah, if you look to this point, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so with 5 points, you have all of this, and if you have like obviously 2 more here, another 2 here, and yet another 2 here, that's 6 extra, so that's 11 points. And Way of the Ninja Novice for literally the most overpowered ninjutsu in the game, and that is way stronger than any other spell in the magic tree. And then you have like the advanced ones, but yeah, just focus on these ones. This doesn't make sense. This would be something that I would definitely put behind the veteran. Definitely. Or in the case of what I was saying, behind the only dojo they would have to do in order to get the advanced stuff. You know, the final challenge. Definitely. Because it doesn't make sense how powerful this is. For anyone who doesn't know, in regular speedruns, 20% speedruns, they use these 3 ninjutsu spells called the feathers because they proc confusion super easily. They can be cancelled really easily. Cancel the animation, not the cast, and they deal like 500% damage on arrow key enemies, which is insanely broken. Meaning that whenever you get rid of their key and you start spamming them, they're gonna melt. That's basically the idea. So yeah, I mean, they could be just nerfed, but they never did that. They didn't nerf how long it takes for the spell to pop. They didn't change the cost. They didn't change the amount preparable. They didn't change the percentage of damage that they do on auto key enemies, which I think is the most broken thing probably. I think the most broken thing is basically like the damage out of key and the fact that they can be cancelled, and you know the spell for ninjutsu still comes out. And yeah, now compare them to what would be the more or less equivalent, which is the Thunderstorm shot, the Geyser shot, and Explosive shot, more or less. There's other equivalents, but you know, this is like more or less the closest equivalent. Explosive shot requires 3, and then another 2 for the full thing. Another 3 for Geyser shot, 5 for the full thing, and another 3 and 5 for the full thing for the Thunderstorm shot, meaning that it's 15 skill points compared to the 11, or you know, 9 instead of 5 if you just get the minimum for all of them. So what that means is they are way too unbalanced, especially considering how this jutsu, this spell, comes out way later than the feathers, for example, and they don't get the benefits of extra damage on auto key enemies, which also doesn't make sense if you compare them to the feathers. And it needs Way of the Omnio Adept for whatever reason. So yeah, one more dojo and quite a few more skill points. Doesn't make sense. I think they are fine, these ones, like on Adept, as they are. But yeah, then the Jutsu feathers, like, yeah, they should be on Veteran. Alright, so besides that, there's other comparisons I could make, like for example Reaper being basically like one of the most powerful skills in the whole Kusarigama tree, being like the first one that you can get, and then right after you can get Summer Twilight. I don't think that makes much sense, because then you compare to Dual Swords right here, and you get a Water Sword on Novice, it's the second one, and Adept for the full one. And then you compare it to another case, which is the Switchglaive, and over here you have Infinite Retribution on Adept and Veteran for Infinite Retribution too, which are kind of similar. Or, you know, as much as Kusarigama's Reaper is on the first one, Split Staff on the first one has Dragon Dance as well, which is even more powerful than it, than the Reaper. So yeah, that, I don't think that makes much sense, but you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's not as big of a deal, I think, as the feathers magic thing. Especially considering how, like, in the speedrun they're not actually that relevant, but you know, still something to take into account, I would say. Okay, so speaking about weapon skills, I think the sword skill tree is actually the perfect example of how the rest of the skill trees should be treated. You have like strong at the end of the combo, light at the end of the combo, or quick, whatever. You have the EI attacks, you have the block plus triangle, block plus square, hold, triangle, you know, all of that stuff, and then on each stance is different as well. So I think it's really good overall. But then you go to the dual swords, and you have this issue with, for example, Water Sword and Windstorm, where they are in the same input on the same stance, so you kind of have them at the same time. And you don't have any R1 plus square, you have just R1 plus triangle, which doesn't make any sense, considering how you have two skills that are in the same input for R1 triangle. Now, I think even better than that would be the possibility of, you know, having this, for example, Water Sword default, Water Sword as default on R1 plus triangle, and Windstorm on R1 plus square. But then if you want to have them changed, like for example, like Water Sword on R1 plus square and Windstorm on R1 plus triangle, I think you should be able to. You know, so just once you do all of that, you can change that. Then obviously dual swords are also lacking light attack at the end of the combo and all that stuff. So I think all of these skills where they override each other. They like many skills sharing the same input and stance is not good. Also keep in mind that Sign of the Cross is literally the only L1 plus circle that we have in Dual Swords, which is, you know, one of the more powerful ones, but yeah. It feels like there's not enough variety on many of these ones, like they are not treated the same way. Another really good one is the split staff. I won't dwell too much into it, but yeah. Another really bad one is the axe. In that sense, axe is very powerful, but they have a lot of conflicting ones. So yeah. Besides all of that, there's one more thing beyond that I want to talk about, like that is the, for example, skills like Dragon Claw, Ultimate Sign of the Cross, Punish the Proud, Through and Through, Grandma Sword Dance, Dragon Fang, all of that stuff, like the hidden skills, basically. I think they are not managed properly. They have the same issue with all equipment and all that stuff, which is the random loot. Why are they random loot? In my opinion, the best way to go about it would be to have the boss either on a side mission or even better on a dojo, and you beat it in the dojo and you get the skills from it. Or you could also say, okay, what kind of skills are you getting from that boss? Dual sword skills, then beat him with dual swords and you get the skills. I would say that's way more fair than the way they are treated in this game, where it's just literally random. You could get like 2 or 3 skills in one run, or you could get like 1 skill in 5 hours. It doesn't make much sense at all. Like I don't like it. No one likes it, and the fact that even on a newer playthrough, you cannot, like, you have to grind them again. For example, you don't have them unlocked or ready to be unlocked. Doesn't make much sense either. So yeah, I think those are the main complaints I have about the game so far. Now let's think about, instead of things that I would change, things that I would probably look forward to seeing being applied, like that could make the games a bit more something else, or even like better, right? One of them is obviously the more open world game instead of mission based. We all like the fact that you can just go back to a mission and just do it. That could also just be done with checkpoints, I would say. Like, you just go to the checkpoint and say you want to refresh that area of the game, and you say yes, and then you just do it. You just do the mission again if you want to do it, or, you know, not the mission, the area again. And yeah, just by checkpoints, you have the same kind of mechanic, but now the game is not separated in missions with so many loading screens in between each them. Because keep in mind that right now I'm playing on the PS5 version, which is the remastered one, and you know, every time that I enter a mission, the loading screens are fast, but there are still loading screens. And even on the other versions, especially on PS4, if you have a powerful PC, it's not as much of a big issue. But yeah, on PS4, for example, with an SSD or not, you're gonna spend a bit of time when entering a mission and exiting, especially depending on the mission. So instead of having all of that, which you kind of have to in a mission-based game, you can just have the game load things as you progress from area to area in a more open world, quote-unquote open world kind of solution. I would say full open world is not good, but if it's you know, area based, like probably something in between what Dragon's Dogma was and what some other action RPGs are like. Like for example, I don't know. I mean, Souls games is kind of like the obvious example, I guess, but less. I would say a bit less corridor-like, um, a bit more open world than that, but not going like full open world like Elden Ring, for example. It's gonna be um, probably closer to God of War, actually. God of War 2018. I would say that's a bit better. Um, Besides all of that, the main thing is taking care of some bosses or some boss style. It seems that the general consensus included is that bosses like Kashin Koji, Bren, Hayabusa, Toshimitsu, Honda, and some others like Kintoki and whatnot, like they have some issues with them, based on be hyper armor, be too many counter attacks, stuff like that are not great. But those are just very very specific things about just particular bosses. So I'm not gonna dwell too much into it. But I would like to see less of bullshit moments, quote unquote bullshit moments. And yeah, besides that, I think the change they did from the Abyss to the Underworld has been really good. I definitely did not enjoy the Abyss at all, but the Underworld I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Maybe because I also know way more than about the game. But yeah, the only thing that I would change is that in the depths of the Underworld you can just go directly to the boss. I like that, but before that you cannot. So I would like to see the option of just going through the to the boss directly from the start. I don't have an issue with Twilight missions. I don't really do them, but yeah. Picture scrolls are not a bad addition, I would say. It's just that it has the same kind of thing where so many special effects are in place. But yeah, that's basically the main things that I wanted to talk about. But I did forget that I just remembered about one thing. Okay, one other thing that people don't like is this. Not specifically the sloth talisman only, but the sloth statues. It might be good for like novice players, but I don't think it's a good idea to have it in this kind of game. Especially considering how you can just combine like the lightning debuff and the sloth debuff. I don't know. It's not great. It's not great for the players. It's not great for when I say for the players, it's like when you get afflicted by a sloth, it sucks. You literally you just have to wait until the sloth gets run out. Like you run out of the sloth debuff. And then the other way around, and the player just slothing enemies around. I don't know. I feel like it takes away from the game. I had the same issue in Nioh 1. I know that the sloth talisman now it's not the same as before. It's way less powerful. But as a mechanic, I don't think it makes much sense at all. I would say right now the biggest issue that I have with it is the fact that mages, enemies, and whatnot, they can just spam it to you because for the player it's not as useful. So I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore. But in Nioh 1 it was like terrible. It was absolutely terrible. How insanely powerful it was. Like it was so overpowered. And in this one, it's still there. It only requires one dojo for whatever reason, but I guess it's just because it's less powerful. But I don't think it adds anything to the game that It just only takes away from the game, in my opinion. Okay, so a couple of things that I forgot to talk about. One is the salt. I don't know if I have one. I should have. Yeah, here. This item right here. This item is way too overpowered. It procs purity, and it deals a lot of key damage. Kind of. Okay, there we go. It's if you have seen like speedruns that are not from me, you have seen salt being used. It's very, very powerful. Maybe not as much as feathers, but almost. So yeah, I would also change that because it's kind of dumb how easily accessible it is and how OP it is. And another thing that I kind of forgot to talk about is the shiftling, the yokai shift forms. I think they're really good, but they're kind of lacking in the department of like skills. Like the brute has the fang break, the phantom has moving to the target and all that stuff. Like it has some skills, but you don't have any kind of like learnable skills or things that you can get on your moveset that add more to the yokai shift. So I'd like to see some of that as well. But yeah, then again, we don't know if we're gonna continue with the yokai shift. In my opinion, like it's way better than the weapon, way more in the combat. But it can be improved. And if we don't have a level weapon for whatever reason on the following Nioh or Nioh-like, whatever, then something to be taken into account as well. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.